Answer, my friend, to 75 foods. Hello, friends, and welcome. I don't hear anything. Am I not making any sound? Is this not working? I don't think that's working. Can you hear me? Can I be heard?
We need someone to respond.
Is the hearage of me hearable? Or am I going unheard? Those are the questions I have. Can I be heard?
Okay, I can hear you, right?
Yes. There's a round table and I'm not invited. Alex Light says yes, I can be heard. Okay, well, see, the reason I ask is because there are these little round balls next to the microphone. And they're supposed to go reveal the amount of sound that's coming into the microphone, right? Like, so as you speak, it's supposed to go up and then go blank when you're not saying anything. But it's not doing anything. It's not showing me any indication of talking at all. So I had my doubts. However, now I've been relieved by confirmation of people in the chat that, in fact, I am being heard. Spacey, am I somebody who enjoys it when he doesn't feel like he's being heard?
Not at all, Eric.
I get
In fact,
upset.
You get positively livid.
I do. I don't like being not heard.
And you think you're completely unheard.
I get positively livid.
When you feel completely unheard.
Right, with my moisture.
Right. That's your moisture.
Now, to see how I feel, if I feel completely unheard, and you gotta kind of fondle my undercarriage a little bit and see how damp it is. At least you're unhurt. Yeah, I don't mind being hurt. I just need to be heard. Zaylen Black, hello. So tonight on the roundtable of Typology Q&A discussion time, there's a roundtable. It's a metaphysical roundtable. It's a metaphorical roundtable. It's really the distance between you and my heart is the distance of one roundtable. Before I had you in my heart, there was one fewer person seated at the round table of my emotions. And remember, you've got to be knighted in the kingdom of TWFP to be a person who sits around the table of my heart. It's funny how sociologists talk about ENTP as Don Quixote, screaming at windmills, nothing will happen. There's an element of that to an ENTP, for sure. We can get caught up in our causes and our symbologies and forget that, to check to make sure that reality is gaining its appropriate amount of prioritization as well as just, our symbol calculus of it. But it's reductive, of course, to a certain extent as well. I mean, ENTPs can have genuinely good ideas and can grow, obviously, and I think that there definitely are different states of optimality for individual ENTPs, between individual ENTPs, and between individual anybody's. Jason Fillion. Hey, Jason Fillion. How are you tonight? This morning? Are you well? Are you, aflutter with delight? Would you say that your spirit is aflutter with delight? Are you quadrupling right now? Are you experiencing some ecstasy as a consequence? Maybe that's why you can't sleep. Talking with Andrew. You're now the president of the United States. You can choose one polity or initiative. What do you do? Well, I mean, the first thing I would do relates to using the Justice Department to make changes in case law, which is more significant than any policy or initiative I might initiate or support. What we need to do is set legal precedent that things are interpreted certain ways. And when that happens, then the laws actually get applied as they ought to be. So my answer is I'd probably, if I had to tackle one area of jurisprudence to try to establish case law, but probably my first priority, simply because it'd be the easiest to actually deal with as president, would be to try to get the power of executive orders limited. Because I could produce myself a situation that would be challengeable, ask the Justice Department to challenge me on it, and then not fight it.
Right.
And basically get the courts to agree with me that that's where the presidential power should be limited, which would affect every president, including me, thereafter, which is necessary. I'm not interested in gaining more power for the president. That's the last thing in the world I'm interested in.
That's the kind of foresight a good president needs. You're playing the long game.
Yeah, right. I want to preserve the integrity of the system of citizen democracy for the long term, to the best of my ability. How's everybody's spleen today? Good question, AS. I'm feeling relatively spleen-free at the moment, actually. Oh, now you're doing a stream, lol, says Angant here. Yes. Tender. Susie's spleen is tender. Well, she's got some weird, kinky things that she does with her spleen, though, so it makes it so tender. Which MBTI type is most difficult for you to pin down or is easiest for you to mistake for another type? INFP can be challenging because they can present a lot of different ways. I'd say INFP can be, it depends on the INFP. They can be very difficult to type for me sometimes because I don't have a clear intuitive grasp of, I don't recognize my own when FI is around me, It's like I got a pretty good sense of when I'm around another extrovert intuitor, another dominant NE user. It's pretty clear cut, Also, I got a good sense of when they're not dominant, where it might be. I get the nuances of it. FI, I don't get the nuances of it at all. So FI DOMs can be a little bit more challenging for me to type. Also, SI DOMs can actually be, ISFJs can be tricky because that third slot TI, second slot FE thing, alpha quadra, it's easy enough to mistake a smart one for an INTP maybe. That's a possibility as well. You seem severely optimized through Spacey's presence. I do feel optimized by Spacey's presence a great deal. He and I were talking about that earlier today, that I measure my success in life and my happiness in life and stuff like that by how many things I get done during the day. Certain days I have lower expectations than others, and so if I exceed those expectations, I get some shit done, and it's very gratifying. Spacey's presence has made it such that, I might record those songs anyway, with just myself playing them, but because Spacey's here, it's like a thing that we're doing today, the thing we're doing every day until we're done with this 12 songs, So, and knowing that Spacey somehow benefits from my SEing him a little bit makes me more likely to SE the thing that I want to do and to do it a little bit better. Makes me more likely to NI it too. In general, I'm getting more NI. And plus, Spacey really helps by both Kim and I like him, and both Kim and I like having him here. And believe me, if Kimberly is not happy with the situation, there is no avoiding that reality. There is just no avoiding it. So it's like, I knew going into this that it was going to boil down to how comfortable Kimberly was with the situation. And she's very, very happy with it, I think. It makes her better. It makes me better. It makes Facey better. And, you know, it was such a strange thing happened today with this turtle, right? One of the things I've been telling Kimberly and wanting to sort of get her to agree with me about is that this idea I keep telling her, which is the stories we tell come true. So let's tell good stories about each other. Let's tell good stories about the relationship. Let's use language that is positive, optimistic, affirming, whatever. Hi, Sinjin. It's true. And the thing is, because I know Spacey's not going to bring the SE himself really a lot, then it makes me be more practical about the SE. I know that I can only ask so much doing from Spacey before he gets frustrated and tired of it. And so I have to be smart about it. Like, okay, well, let's practice it a bit now. I have to sort of be the SFJ a little bit and be like, okay, make sure you eat, Spacey. You get anything to drink yet? You know, shit like that. Stuff that Kimberly would ask me. I sometimes ask him, and just generally sort of feel like things are purposed for more than just my own gratification, which, you know, I can be gratified. I'm okay with things that don't work very well if it's just me doing it. But if somebody else is involved, then it makes me be more focused. And yeah, it's sort of an apprentice, I suppose. But the thing is, I feel like I'm learning as much from Spacey as he's learning from me. I think it's a good situation for everybody, like I said. I think it's what he needed in the sense that it's a purposed life, but not a very structured life. Like he and I, we don't really have any concrete plans. There's no real expectations beyond the next thing in line of stuff that we're gonna maybe play with. You know, I don't. Neither of us goes any further than that. Yeah, I think Alfred's an ISFJ. But Kimberly steps it up too. You know, it's like she's kind of hit and miss sometimes about making sure that I get fed if it's just she and I around here. But with Spacey here, she feels more like a mother.
Get me in a picture or something. Let's get this party started.
It's been started. You've just been on your phone.
Well, you've been boring.
Okay, well, you be more exciting then.
Okay.
Now you're on camera and I'm over here. And that's
okay. Personally, I could be a good leader, but I rarely take that role. What type are you, Angantir?
Follower. He's a follower type. I mean, the thing about the leadership's mostly just burden. It's not anything that's. It's like.
Am I Batman?
The reason leadership is burden is because everybody has a different relationship with it.
I'm Batman.
I know. I heard you are the Batman. That makes me, I guess, Robin.
We gotta go find those fuckers who stole my wallet.
Holy wallet stealers, Batman. Leadership. Yeah, leadership's a tricky business. It's like there are some people who want you to lead them. Other people are going to resist being led.
Right.
And so being a leader means really doing a lot of interfacing with individuals according to their own individual particular qualities, and that's the challenge.
Seems to me INFJs lead people by being so attractive that everybody just wants to follow them without a fight. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. People are afraid of making them annoyed at them or something.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's just they see no reason why they wouldn't follow this wonderful person. Like, they're so sweet, and they never do anything to hurt anybody. You know. So you wind up with things like Mother Teresa. You know, I don't know what type she was, but she actually did a lot of horrible shit.
Right.
You know.
Right. INTP does not want to be led. They want to be included. And
Exactly.
they want to be included and needed.
We want somebody else to be like, hey, do this with us, but then we want to come to the conclusion to do it ourselves. It has to be our idea to do it. We don't want to feel forced. That's all.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, you want decisions to be mutual.
Right.
So that's a quality that's resistant to leadership, and ENTPs can also be resistant to leadership. Although we can fill the role of follower bottom up once we learn it, you know.
Well, INTPs they're annoying because they're the ones who they don't want to lead and they don't want to follow, and they're very often in the way.
Right. They're the people to whom the statement was invented. For whom the statement was invented.
Exactly.
Lead, follower, get out of the way.
Literally, they was invented for us. Yeah.
So C.S. Joseph is a penguin. That's an interesting notion in the Batman analogy. I'm curious now that you mention it. What was the penguin's deal anyway? Like, as a supervillain goes, did he have any supervillain powers, or is he just Waddle, or like what's his deal?
I think he's just a super genius. Basically, he has inventions that he makes that do things. It's pretty generic shit, you know.
And so what makes him penguin? Oh, he's got the umbrella. Yeah,
He does ice shit. That's his trademark. He freezes shit.
He freezes stuff.
Maybe.
How can
Actually no. I'm thinking of Mr. Freeze. I'm all mixed up with these Batman villains. Yeah, I don't know why he's called the Penguin. I think it's just because he looks vaguely penguinish.
How can SE polar types get motivated to take initiative, like to hit on people?
Fuck.
Well, I want to say something I said earlier today when I was talking to or with or about Spacey and Kimberly, maybe, I don't know. And I said, Spacey's taught me to respect my neuroticism. And when you're asking that sort of question, it might be a good idea to find another wholly neurotic person and say, hey, look, I'm really neurotic about this shit. And so if you're neurotic too, and we can both not fall into the whole like mating milieu of the current time, we'd be better off probably. Yep. And if you can say that shit, and the other person feels you on it, then you got somebody that you can actually slowly sort of get to know and not just end up being, having those awful early relational experiences where both people are feeling inadequate or insecure in some fashion and having sex in a way that is just sort of like you both feel afterwards like, ugh. Yeah.
Someone asked earlier what types I thought I was before I thought I was an INTP. I've never really had any other types that I thought I was when you get down to it.
He toyed with INFP.
Yeah, I've been an INTP from the beginning, basically. I mean, I didn't exactly know why I was one at first, I guess, but I've never really had a reason to change it.
Yeah.
I've taken tests, that are granular and try to figure out whether you're an INTP or an INFP, and I've got basically 50-50 on it. It's kind of, I can be feely if I have to.
Yeah, I'm really still thinking about the penguin thing. Like, why? Like, whoever made up that villain, why the penguin? Why the penguin?
This is why I hate the DC universe, dude. It's bad writing.
But Batman and Robin, the old TV show, was brilliant. I was watching it the other day on my mom's TV, and Catwoman, You know, Catwoman's in love with Bruce Wayne. No, not with Bruce Wayne, with Batman, but not with Bruce Wayne.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Right. She likes the danger.
Interestingly, Bruce Wayne, Adam West, is her probation officer.
Huh.
Penguin is ridiculous, over the top, relies on henchmen, has a mafia kingpin style.
Yeah, he's so generic and lame. Yeah.
Maybe we should all chip in and buy C.S. Joseph an umbrella.
Yeah, he's literally Penguin because he's like fat, he waddles, and he has this long pointy nose.
That's why he's Penguin.
Yeah.
Does he have any power over penguins? Is he like Aquaman, but just for penguins?
I don't know. He uses high-tech umbrellas as weapons.
High-tech umbrellas.
Runs a nightclub called the Iceberg Lounge, which provides a cover for his criminal activity. Batman sometimes uses it as a source of criminal underworld information.
Wow. Interesting. He's turning the Penguin's Iceberg Lounge against him.
Unlike most of Batman's enemies, the Penguin is sane and in control of his actions.
He talks like this.
According to Kane, the character was inspired by the advertising mascot of Cool Cigarettes, a penguin with a top hat and a cane. Finger thought that the image of high society gentlemen in tuxedos was reminiscent of Emperor Penguins. So I guess this was back when that was a unique insight to have about Emperor Penguins.
I guess so. Maybe he was the first one to conclude that penguins look like they're dressed in tuxedos.
Perhaps.
Spacey, do you ever rethink your ethics or other typical FI subjects?
Sure.
Or just think about, I guess, or think. Oh, do you ever think? I see what this is. Okay.
All the time. I mean, that's like, it's kind of one of the better things to think about because you can't really ever come to a definitive conclusion about ethical questions, really, a lot of the time. So I am constantly thinking about them and revising them and seeing whether they really apply the way that I think they do and such things. It's important to me not to be a bad person very much. So
last stream he did, I saw it was live and I joined to see what the chat looked like. See, us in the chat feed called All YouTube MBTI Channel Hacks. Gotta update your FI firmware so often.
Right, exactly, Peter. Yeah. Although I don't really know if I actually go, okay, I'm going to sit down and update it right now. It does happen in real time. Although I don't know if it's actually changed in a while, really.
My FI is still running Apple IIe. It's got those floppy disks, those big ones.
It's funny, in a strange way, I'm more careful about having good FI than having good FE. I guess that makes sense with this.
That was a big cough.
Big coughs for the lyric.
Yeah. He's so narcissistic, he thinks he's the only one who's right.
I don't know if he even really thinks that.
Yeah, I mean, if he were really narcissistic, he wouldn't care if he's right.
Whether he thinks he's right or not, I mean, he has to pretend like he is.
I mean, it's paying the bills.
Right.
I don't have any problem with him making money off of his shit and doing what he's doing.
People want to pay him. That's their prerogative.
Right.
You know? But if he's lying, I feel like he's kind of lying and cheating people and, you know, living like the devil.
He's a charlatan.
Yeah, he's a charlatan.
Nobody likes a charlatan.
Especially not me.
Life experience is the torrent that will affect FI. He said that. I heard it from his mouth. Life experience is the torrent that will affect FI.
Is that what C.S. Joseph said?
I guess it's true.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a kind of aesthetic sense, I
It
guess.
doesn't really
I
express
mean,
a whole
yeah, it
lot.
doesn't express much, but
If the first and eighth function are equally strong, they are not. Can that person successfully train themselves to use their eighth function? They're not equally strong. Eighth function is an unconscious tool function of sorts that serves the first and the third. So like my SE is active, but I wouldn't call it strong because it fails me every time it's purely practical to use it. If it doesn't have certain kind of payoffs, my SE doesn't activate. I think I avoid SI because bad experiences. What do you mean by you avoid SI? I mean you actively think, I'm not going to think about the past experience.
If you're experiencing past experiences that are bad, then you're not really avoiding it, are you?
I can smell CHJs and fear FIs
Yeah.
like rotten eggs.
It's not a choice. You can't avoid it.
It's like a fetus in your womb.
Right.
It's not a choice.
Oh, shit.
It's a baby.
We're getting political now.
Ooh, I'm going to piss off some ladies. We can abort babies if we want to. It's our body. It's our choice. It's our hunk of thing inside of us. Okay, ladies. He said that was referencing Blue Nowhere, saying CS said he is the only one who's right. Oh, CS said he's the only one who's right. Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm the only one who's right. Well, I mean, I've said equivalent things before, too. I said, well, look, this is my position on it, and if insofar as this person disagrees with it, then I'm right and they're wrong, unless they want to win the argument. But the thing is, I would say unless they want to win the argument, right?
Right.
Or unless they've got better things to say or whatever. And the reason I think I'm right is because I've undergone continual critique from day one. So shit doesn't stand muster. Well, it's been excised.
That's proper TI usage right there.
Yeah.
Cut out the dead weight. Separate the wheat from the chaff.
Exactly. Eric gets spanked by his friends. My friends, there's nothing to delight in more than catching me being wrong and
It's true.
hammering the shit out of it. Hi, Chris.
But it's only because we know you need it and that you can take it. You know?
It wasn't really obvious to me that CSJ was
And you
bullied
appreciate
at all, Catherine. It wasn't.
No, it was mostly obvious to Kim.
It was obvious to Kim, and Kim pointed it out to me.
But it does fill in some holes.
Yeah.
I guess.
Adam Covert in the movie 50 First Dates has a damaged SI. I've seen that movie, but isn't it the chick who has the damaged SI?
Yeah, I thought it was Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, it's Drew Barrymore. I don't know what made it obvious to Kimberly. Oh, I do know what made it obvious to Kimberly, actually. She had a friend named Holly who used to be fat and then got like stomach reduction surgery or whatever and became skinny. And she says that CSJ has the same quality of Holly as somebody who used to be obese but became skinny and then feels like they're a new person. Let's see here. You guys are killing it with the music. Thanks, Taylor. I appreciate it.
We are. Thanks.
The puppy eyes, even he tries to act macho. I haven't noticed really. I haven't really watched him that much. Hello, Right Ruminations. I love the fact that you do those compositions, and I guess you must have some software that plays the composition for you or something. I'm not sure. It's an interesting way to make music.
Who?
Right Ruminations. He does like old compositions in old school style, like classical music styles. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
He does it all digitally?
Yeah, it seems like it's a MIDI composition, maybe? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can get pretty good samples of a lot of those instruments, you know.
Yeah. His channel's chat is like piranhas. What are they eating? He did used to be obese and obviously lost all the weight. I mean, obvious to you, Catherine, I would never have guessed that if Kimberly hadn't said that to me. His grandiose sense of self. C.S. Joseph sees MBTI as a business, so he needs to dismiss the competition and competitors away from their content and try to divert them to his own, what he believes is his one divine truth on MBTI. I still haven't watched the videos, so I can tear. Susie says, Taylor? Question mark. Yes, Drew Barrymore was damaged as well. The character I mentioned is the guy they show her who's at the clinic that says, Hi, I'm Tom with a 10-second limit of memory. I sent the scores to a sub of mine who puts on a program called Finale. Oh, cool. I'm normally a metalhead, but I do enjoy some classical folk.
Listen, I think metal and classical are way closer than most people realize.
Yeah.
Like the arpeggios I hear some of those guitarists do and stuff, like, yeah.
We do not really know if he believes his own stuff, although it appears so. Did you see S.E. Lavoda's latest video? S.E. Lavoda's? Megan Lavoda's video on bullying? No, I didn't see it, but I will want to watch it now. Because, you know, I always feel special when Megan Lavoda comments on one of my videos. I guess I'm subject to this, like, ooh, she's like famous or something. Vivaldi is Proto Slayer. What a great comment. Vivaldi
I like that,
is Proto
though.
Slayer.
I do.
Yeah.
You know, I heard there's some Mexican couple who did like this acoustic cover of some Slayer song, and it's fucking awesome.
Jen, the INFP, chaotically minded, chaotically minimal. Hi, everyone. And you'll notice she's included a grinning face.
Ooh.
Yeah.
She's real ready for this.
Mm-hmm. He, as an ENTP, is the chosen type to help the INFJ.
Hopefully she has questions and comments, because this is boring.
He made a 1 hour... Spacey,
What?
you are salty tonight.
I know, I'm sorry.
He made a 1 hour video that was supposed to be about how to social engineer INFJs, but instead he spent the entire time supporting the romanticized BS pretense most hold for INFJ. And
Just have a little
how.
anticipation right now.
Oh, you have some anticipation in your heart?
Some anticipation in my body.
Hi, Rita Sousa. Rita Sousa, I have a question for you. I'm sure a lot of people ask you this. Do you play the sousaphone? Do you?
Please tell me you do.
Hi, everyone. Natalia Archer says, what's going on? Eric, says Susie. How to socially engineer INFJs?
They're pretty hard to socially engineer because they're usually the ones doing it.
If you figure out their shit and try to do that, they'll door slam you.
Yeah.
Am I a nihilist? No, definitely not. Explaining how he as an ENTP is the chosen one to assist the INFJ in saving humanity, lol. Impatient. Look, Peter Dentis's face has no mouth. You see what you've done now?
Interesting.
Your impatience has removed the mouths.
Right. Okay, I see. Everyone's afraid to speak now because of my impatience and my anger. I've learned my lesson. No, Eric, you've pretty much closed the door on nihilism, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm not nihilistic at all.
I mean, if you manage to stay a nihilist for your entire life, you messed up somewhere, probably.
Right. I'm quite earnest, frankly. The older I get, the more earnest I get.
I'm not very earnest, but, you know, I mean...
He's getting there.
Yeah.
He and I have some moments of earnest, like mutual appreciation and stuff.
We do.
It's one of the starts to
You do bring out the earnestness within me.
And likewise, because I think we both don't want to be subject to legitimate critiques about being not woke enough NTPs.
You know, Taylor, this is fucking weird, but I've gotten way more aggressive being in this house. I don't know if it's all that yelling and shit or what, but like, I will fucking kick your ass when I see you. Piece of shit.
What, Taylor? What are you bitching at? What is he attacking you for?
I don't know. He wants to get fucking punched in the dick. obviously.
Hmm.
But seriously, we need to hang out sometime, man. What the fuck? You're off. You can leave the state and shit now, right?
What would you like to discuss, Impatient One? Asked Natalia Archer of you, Stacy.
What?
Natalia Archer asked, what would you like to discuss, Impatient One?
Oh, I don't know. Whatever other people want to discuss. I just need someone to get me started, you know? That's the thing. Can't come up with something myself.
Stacy, haven't you ever heard the old expression, don't get me started?
Yeah? Well, get me started.
Okay.
Rev me up.
Whoop, whoop.
You're still poor? Yeah, me too. Well, if you start entertaining me, then I will give you. I just need an inch of entertainment to give you a mile of entertainment.
Right, yeah.
It's like it's that simple.
It's like he's super saturated with entertainment salt, and if you drop a couple crystals of entertainment salt into the mixture, then the rest of the entertainment salt will come out of the dissolving. Yeah, stays super saturation.
I'm saturated.
Super saturated.
Super saturated, baby.
He's super saturated with man seed.
Super saturated.
Unfortunately, I thought he came here to be entertained as well.
Interesting.
So
Well, what are we going to talk about, Eric? Let's come up with a topic.
Okay, we're having a Mexican standoff of entertainment right now.
Mexican standoff? Interesting.
An entertainment Mexican standoff.
Has anyone seen From Dawn Till Dusk? How great of a movie is that? I love that movie.
I haven't seen it.
You have to fucking watch it, dude. It's great.
I stopped wasting my money on drugs because alcohol is cheaper.
Oh, bullshit.
Stop wasting your money on alcohol. Better to save up your money and do drugs less often.
Yeah. Alcohol sucks, dude. You spend your money on weed instead of alcohol. It might be a little more expensive, but it'll be better for you.
I think I saw the link to that video, Taylor. I clicked it and saw it was about prison reform, basically. I didn't watch it yet. I will watch it, though. Double Decider.
See, Taylor's got my back on Dawn Till Dusk, man. Fucking classic.
What's it about?
It's just a bullshit movie about some guys go to a bar in Mexico and crazy shit happens. It's just kind of funny.
No dealers, move to a new town, otherwise I would. Well, what you need is an ESTP on your team. They'll find you the drug dealer. ESTPs have a sixth sense.
What type are you, Natalia? Dystopian movies?
Countess One. Hi, just stopped by to check this out. Welcome, Countess One. We are glad you stopped by to check this out. You have a week and a half to read the book, and you need to return it. Okay? That's our checking out policy. Where will it be in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? Where will I be in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years? In 5 years, I will be deep in a presidential run.
Yeah.
In 10 years, I'll be president. In 15 years, I hope I'll be trying to get the next president to make me a Supreme Court justice.
Right.
So I want to be a Supreme Court judge after I'm president.
That'd be a good role for you.
And then in 20 years, I'll still be a Supreme Court judge.
Right.
But I'll still be YouTubing all the time. For sure.
Sweet.
Weed is the best design material. I have a few seeds. We have a nice plant coming up that's budding right now. You know, and as the
excited to harvest and christen it.
Yeah, as the season changes,
make some cookies.
The angle of the sun gets lower. I don't know if you've noticed, it's actually getting more hours of sun during the day because it's underneath the leaves and the things that were shading it before. So as it gets closer to deeper, the sun goes less in the middle and more over this way.
Okay.
It actually gets more hours of sun.
So you think it gets a decent amount of sun then?
It's getting more now, yeah.
Good. Cool. How
easy is it for you to type a person with a mental disorder like OCD?
ENFJ and INFP.
Well, Countess, if you have somebody with a mental disorder like ODD, it's very easy to type them because that's bullshit. It depends if their OCD is real or not. Most people who get diagnosed with various disorders don't have anything wrong with them. Yeah, OCD equals an SI dom. Most people who have those kind of disorders, count as one, are really not suffering from any disorder at all. I'm diagnosed as ADD. I'm not ADD. I'm an extroverted intuitor. Okay, you have OCD. So does that mean like you check the door 3 times before you leave kind of shit? Or is it more hardcore than that? I mean, the thing is, did you go say, look, intrusive thoughts, I can't push it out? Intrusive thoughts, huh? Intrusive thoughts is OCD? What makes a thought intrusive? According to your psychiatrist, well,
I don't know, I guess something you don't want to be thinking about that you keep thinking about. You know, that it would just basically be an obsessive thought. Something like that. But the thing is, it seems weird to me. I feel like when you think about something a lot, on some level, you kind of do want to be thinking it, because otherwise you wouldn't be thinking it. It's really complicated. But
I'm pretty sure 3rd and 4th slot FI can lead to strict attachments to things like church, political parties, video games, hobbies, etc.
Well, Natalia, if I had to triangulate those, I would say that you're an INFJ most likely, but we'd have to be more careful here.
Janice one says, I can't go to the supermarket recently because I keep getting obsessed with the thought of a person around me with a trolley. Okay, well, I can't check my phone or my email because I'm worried that there might be some bad news, or I might have to do something I don't want to do, or something like that. And so Tracy checks my email and my phone for me. Is it destructive to my well-being that I can't check my own phone and email? Not if Spacey's here. You know, does that make me OCD? I don't think so.
Listen, dude, if you want me to, you need to give me access to your Facebook and shit or whatever if you're not going to manage it.
You have it. It's right here.
Is it? Okay. Sorry.
Is a trauma-forced person to use more of their back-end functions? I think it pushes you into your 4th slot function. It makes you codependent. Hey, yes, I really appreciate your ongoing pattern of spleen-related jokes. I want to stress that. I may not be reading them all out loud, but I suspect you extroverted intuition.
Probably in the 3rd or 4th slot. They're very punny.
Spleen Street is not really a pun.
No, it's not even a pun, right?
That's what makes it more
right.
higher, maybe, than that. It's more absurdist.
This isn't any 4th slot individual, I think.
You think this person here is?
They have humor like that.
AS? I don't think so.
Maybe 3rd?
I think it's higher than that, even,
no.
probably. Because look, okay, let's go back up and look at all the shit they put.
Trust me, dude.
All right, so let's start here at the top. Where's the AS thing? All right, we're going to review AS and see where AS's extroverted intuition is based on their comments here. Okay, first they say, how can SE polar types get motivated to take initiative, like to hit on people? Which suggests they might be SE polar. I used to, but it didn't go well. Now, I can smell CSJ's inferior FI. It's like rotten eggs. Calm your spleens, boys. I like spleen-themed movies. I mean, it's just randomness, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Nightmare on Spleen Street is one of my favorites. That's
randomness.
But see, this is the sort of thing that I might very well do in someone's live stream. In fact, I have done it before, like Bukoki's live stream shit, where I start making jokes and just keep rolling with the theme. until they finally take notice of me.
Right. Oh, maybe.
So I have a huge issue. My husband's girlfriend found out he's sexting her grandmother. Is her anger a result of foresight FI? Yes, it is. You do think or don't think it pushes you into the fourth thought function? I think trauma pushes you into your fourth thought function because it's basically the thing you know you're not doing enough of.
Right. Yeah.
And so anytime that you experience trauma, you think, okay, I must have not been doing enough of that. It must have caught up with me. Let's see here. Freddie Chandran says, hey, Peter Dennis, and hey, Senja.
Hi, Freddie Chandran.
Natalia Archer asks if we've seen Silence of the Spleens.
Hey, can we actually figure out how to pronounce that person's name?
Who?
Freddie Chandran.
That's how you pronounce it.
Is it?
Yeah. Look
Okay.
at it. Look how it's spelled.
Because it's bugging me. Well, I know
I've always pronounced it that way.
I always assume that foreign names are not pronounced just how they're spelled.
Okay, no, look, but once I pronounce a name a certain way,
Right.
a certain number of times, then that becomes their name, regardless of how they think.
And I'm sure they're fine with it. But I'm just curious.
Like Sarah's last name is Kili, and she might not think it is, but she's
Well, how about
wrong.
aioli? That's pretty good.
How about areola?
I like aioli. Well, areola is a little suggestive, Eric.
Okay, how about areola aioli? That way it can be both suggestive and about food.
Areoli? Okay.
No, two names. Areola aioli.
You're ridiculous.
Let's see. Phone, email, Facebook phobia state is probably some expression of SI grip. No, even any Dom and Tool make lame jokes. Yes, that's true. I agree on SI fourth, avoiding those things. I do it too, post, phone, etc. Some guy in the CS Joseph Discord told me the fourth slot SI makes him feel insecure. It sounds more like fourth slot FI to me. Fourth slot SI doesn't make me feel insecure at all.
Okay, that is how you pronounce it. Okay, that's cool.
Spleens in the Mist. Dances with Spleens is another good one that I've enjoyed. My 15-year-old flip phone can only use the phone.
Shruti? Is that or Shruti or Shruti? I'm trying to get this right.
It's Rue.
Or just
Shruth.
Shruth?
Okay. If your name is pronounced through Shruth, then you're not spelling it right at all. Because I can tell you by reading your name that it's pronounced Freddie Chandra.
Okay.
This is why
is the I silent?
Okay. Nose ready. Listen.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Shruti. Okay.
Let me explain. Ready.
So,
You're mispronouncing your own name. Okay. It's pronounced like this.
I don't know. I think that sounds nice.
Shreddy. Shreddy Chandran is your name. Is it true there are cow vigilantes? Is it true?
Well, there's vigilantes that tip cows. But I don't know.
But Andy, if you molest a cow, do you get beat up by the villagers? Molest meaning bother in this instance. For example, if you taunt a cow by eating a hamburger near it.
Man, I'm gonna need a fucking laptop. I need so much
Shreddy, you need to stop trying to change your own name. Okay, your name is Shreddy Chandra. Peter Dennis, I have it. 4 TOTS watertight. SI7 makes you not remember details in past event, only NI summaries. Indeed. The thing is, the other thing I was saying earlier in the card basically I thought was worth repeating was how sad it must be for NI people, because for me, like today, I was driving back from Mount Baldy with Spacey. I was saying to myself, good job, Eric. You got a lot of stuff done today, even though you didn't have any Adderall or anything. You got like 4 things done. That's better than usual, because in the past, when you don't have any Adderall, you know you're going to get some pretty soon, then you're just going to wait for the Adderall. You're not going to try to get anything done the day before or whatever. So I was proud of myself, and I thought, well, NI people don't really do that. They probably don't really get to do that where they go, I'm comparing against my past less optimal self. They just compare against the ideal that's in their head, and then they're always feeling like they're not fulfilling their potential or something. How sad that must be. Something I was reflecting on earlier. Mount Baldy does need chia seeds spread on top of it. You're right about that for sure. Oh, Christy asks Eric, and I think this is an odd German. She speaks German, actually. She says, Eric, do you know fears with sickness and avoid to look there? Think about it. You mean, do I worry about my physical well-being or health, but don't want to ever get anything checked out because I don't want to find out if there's something wrong with me? I don't really worry about it much. I don't really have a lot of fear about that. But I do avoid thinking about it. Okay, Srati Chandran, you're just confusing everybody. Your name is Srati Chandran. What happens when NI serves FE? Then, well, in that instance, you've either got well, you probably got it, I guess, second slot. You're talking about ENFJ then, or yeah, really an ENFJ you're talking about. I guess you could be talking about ISTP. FE kind of FE serves NI in that one. ESTP would also have NI serving FE. What are 3 reasons to prove CSGs for the incorrect understanding of the types? Well, number 1, he believes that people have 4 distinct personality types that they can display and switch between, basically. But cardinal functions are processes that don't work like that. Just because you have a right hand, a left hand, a left foot, and a right foot doesn't mean that people switch between being right-handed, left-handed, left-footed, and right-footed, right? So it's true that you can imagine an individual as expressing some sort of shadow self, but that's not how processes work. It's not what habituated processes work. So you must understand the basics of what we're talking about. In other words, that a cardinal function is a process of attention. It's not an attribute that one has. It's not a skill that one has or anything like that, okay? So that's one area in which we know he's wrong. Another way in which we know he's wrong is because he types people using these interaction styles. And he says that you can immediately type somebody as soon as you narrow them down to their interaction style, and they've got this grid that they find places on, except
the grid.
Except the problem with this is it's absolutely not. I mean, his typings of people are inconsistent with any common sense or regular understanding of anything. So it's like, if you take somebody who's really obviously a good type, like I would say John Stewart is a pretty obvious ENTP. Even though he's lefty, he's still an ENTP, he's not an ENFP. And C.S. Joseph might type in as like an ISTJ or something crazy like that. So
right.
We know from his long history of typing people crazy bad, so that, and we can sort of say, well, like, let's look at 10 different typologists and what do they all say, and they might not all agree, but they'll be in the same sort of cluster, and the C.S. Joseph will be way off fucking base, right? And the third thing I would say that we know, the reason we know he's wrong about cognitive functions is he doesn't answer any questions that people have about his understanding of it. So in other words, he's not engaging intellectually with his own understandings or his own affirmations. He's not defending his own affirmations. So if you don't defend your own affirmations and they get rebutted, then they're not standing. And that's what we ought to conclude about his. Let's see. Well, Eric, do all TI users fare well on TI tests? Wouldn't it be better to see how much they try to apply their explanations to everybody, or they just speak for themselves in doubt? There's a lot of things you can look for TI users. TI users will correct themselves, for example. And it's not a question you have to do for a TI test. A TI user will say something like, on Wednesday, I went to the, actually, you know what? It was Tuesday. They'll do that kind of shit. They'll correct themselves. When they're talking, they're checking their own shit for consistency. When they're listening for consistency, and you can read those sort of things. I think it's 1, 2, maybe 3. If we were to go by Eric's test alone, I would test as ISTP, except that I'm still not an ISTP. You would test as an ISTP? Are you sure? I mean, you do the self-correcting thing and consistency too. Well, I mean, look, the thing is, it depends how you use it. I mean, it's the thing about TI. Yes, we should ask those TI questions. Yes, the things I'm saying that are correlates with TI and the higher stack are accurate, but you can't, none of those things are definitive, right? And so you've got to combine things with a lot of other, looking at different things. You can eliminate certain things and whatever. Winston's mom says I studied the tarot cards tonight. They're based on the 4 temperaments. Big city life. Here, my heart have no base. And right now, Babylon, deep on me case. Maybe he simplifies so that people get the gist out of it. If they want to know more, they can always do more research and read. For example, how is he going to be so detailed in YouTube videos? He's got a shit ton of them, first of all, Countess. So he's got plenty of opportunity to be detailed. I am detailed in my understandings of things and my explanations of things. I also have a link to a book I wrote that lays it all out so that you can critique it yourself. I make my case objectively accessible by other people. It's objective data so other people can access it. His data is not objective. He doesn't have it all put together into a single explanation that people can question and read and check on and challenge him about. He avoids doing anything of the sort. So that's why. And he certainly has plenty of videos to go into detail about it. Spacey has a spleen. Yeah, he does. I'm sure this is common knowledge, but what's your type, Spacey? He's an INTP. AS. I pray every night for Spacey's spleen. Thanks, AS. Grittal says Spacey is a token ESFP. I don't think so, Grittal. You heard of academic agent? Right ruminations? Ask Blue Nowhere. Freddie Chandran. Yeah, because I can answer the TI logic problems fine, and I would screw up royally on the NE test, but I'm still clearly an INFP. I mean, I'd have to actually check you on the NE test, because you're not understanding that when I'm asking those questions, I'm reading shit that I'm not necessarily expressly talking about. And if I pull on your NE a bit and you really are an INFP, I'll get it to reveal itself. It's not just whether you are able to ideate, but like how and why you're not ideating right now is relevant. Everyone pass the plate for Spacey and hit like, please. We need a song of spleens. Good point. I really can't believe in tarot in any way. I don't know how I would be able to link the information if I did that, Countess One. Sorry, it's not like I'm giving orders. I'm just struggling to type fast enough so you can read this before I get lost in a sea of text. Oh, don't worry, I'll read it out loud, Countess. Right ruminations. I've heard of them, but don't know them aside from being a figure in the new right. Dr. Phil, don't you want to know me? Be a friend of mine. I'll share some wisdom with you. Don't you ever get lonely from time to time. Don't let the system get you down. I frequently correct myself. Could it also be an E thing? E9? No, Zaylen Black. You'd expect 6-slot TI to be active in conversations with other people for you because it's demonstrative. You'd expect you not to use it in your own life, but you expect you to use it in demonstrating to other people. Essentially, your 6-slot function is the one that you think other people have the right to expect of you. So it's like, I think other people have the right to expect me to be sensible about how to do shit. Ti says, you think other people have the right to expect you to be logically consistent. Jim B says, good morning, guys. I'm off to work in Florida. Jim B, I got a recommendation for you since you're in Florida. Stop at a nearby grocery store.
Ooh, Dr. Phil.
And pick yourself up a carton of Florida's natural brand grapefruit juice. Florida's natural brand, not from concentrate, fully pasteurized, and oh so tangy. Spleen on me when you feel down. INTJ. Okay. You are upside down, and Stranger Things say, what makes you 11? I thought you were older. Peter Dennis is only 11 years old? That's remarkable. I found it interesting how the planets represent pagan gods. Oh, well, you might like his content. One of the people you have spoken to on your channel is appear on his channel. Peter Dentis, read around cognitive functions, for example, because I find that I have to read various sources before I understand what they mean. I still don't know if I understand correctly. Well, Countess, I will tell you nothing but gold bricks worth of wisdom and truth. You can take it all to the bank. Oh my God, I didn't understand. And then I talked to host Eric, and now I understand everything. What it's going to be like for you. Dr. Phil, designed to keep me discreetly, neatly in the corner. You'll find me with flora and fauna and the hardship. Back a yard is where my heart is. Till I find it hard to depart this big city life. Are those lyrics? Say something about SI6, please. SI6. It's right between 5th and 7th. It's like philosophical thinker today. Asked him, when's the last time I went to a restaurant? And he's like, this morning. And I said, okay, well, when's the time for you is that? Yeah, I remember when I went to the restaurant. It was Monday. You remember where you go? Yeah, I went to Dairy Queen. Do you remember what you ordered? No. Do you remember conversation with the guy at the counter? No. Because that's as far as demonstrative SI goes, right? They need to know, like, they have some sort of sense of what happened. They have some like linear progression of experiences, and they can reference them. But those impressions are limited, right? It's like they're more than the takeaways, but less than the fully realized fabric of nuanced experience that is SI. Let's see here. I'm having weighty thoughts that make me roll a joint now. Is this thinking or feeling to deliberately do this action now? It's probably introverted sensing. Why do you believe that positive moral obligations don't exist? Isn't there a time for place for evaluating a course of action as positive one someone ought to do? I think I know why, but I want to hear what you think. Well, the answer is I do think positive moral obligations exist. I just don't think they're universal. So I believe I have positive moral obligations beyond just my negative obligation to not violate the rights of others, that I do have positive moral obligations, such as if I see a drowning child in a lake who's saying, I hope I'm drowning, I will jump in the lake and try to save them, right? I'm not going to walk by and say, well, I only have negative obligations, so I'm not going to do anything. But the point is, I don't think that's an obligation, because to say it's an obligation means it's universal. And so I would say that's a positive moral indication. And each individual has their own particular set of positive moral indications. If I didn't know how to swim, I probably wouldn't jump in the lake to try to save the kid. So we have to factor in those kind of things. Whereas it's never okay for me to drown the kid, whether I know how to swim or not, or, doesn't matter any of the factors. That's universal. It's never okay for me to intentionally drown the kid. But there are circumstances in which it is okay for me to not jump in and save them. And so that's what makes that non-universal. But I certainly believe I do have more positive moral indications beyond the negative obligation to respect other people's rights. And I think everybody else does too. And I think it justifies basically, if you watch somebody drown and don't do anything and laugh at them or something, then I'm going to think you're a reprehensible person. I'm going to condemn you wholeheartedly. but I don't think you're guilty of a crime, you know?
Look at this nuanced understanding of ethics.
Yeah.
Strauss, 2024, ladies and gentlemen.
Rock on. Rock on, citizen democracy. Rock on. I think it's time for us both to pull a bong rip, don't you?
I agree, sir.
We've been at this for a long time without any bong rips. And the labor board will get us in trouble if we don't take our labor board mandated bong rip breaks. I think OSHA will also get mad because we won't be being safe enough. Dangerously low levels of THC cause accidents on the job.
Damn straight. Be right back.
Okay.
Through the tank.
All right, you go do that. I think that's a euphemism for going pee-pee. When you say you're going to empty the tank, I don't think it's actually emptying any tanks. I don't think we have any tanks here that are full of anything. I believe it to be a euphemism. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure, that's sexy. Euphemisms are sexy as hell. Nobody disagrees with that. I don't know if I really countervalue NI that much. I do what? Rely on patterns, trends, signatures. We do the fact that I'm probably Enneagram 9 tentatively. A lot of tentativity for you there, Freddie Chandran. So like you might be an INFP. Well, look, right, ruminations, they're not enforceable they're not legally enforceable because they incur no liability. See, that's the key distinction. A positive moral indication, if you fail to meet it, incurs no liability. You've neither harmed anybody nor damaged somebody's stuff by accident or whatever. You're not responsible fundamentally for the outcomes. So that's why there's no positive moral obligations. But there definitely are positive moral indications, and they're enforceable metaphysically. They're not enforceable physically. So look, schools should indeed have rules about, like, don't bully the other kids, don't taunt them, for example. But the thing is, there ought to be metaphysical responses to that occurring as well. It shouldn't be some sort of physical punishment like suspension or whatever. They should be taunted in return, or held up as an example of wrongdoing and made to experience the public shaming of it or something. That's an appropriate consequence. Now, that sort of thing can't be standardized exactly, but it's one of those things where individual communities within a larger community enforce social mores, and positive moral indication can be among those mores that ought to be enforced in certain ways. But like Right Rumination says, you can't enforce them legally because they're metaphysical crimes, not physical crimes. Go jump in the East Manhattan River current to save that kid. Trust me, what could possibly go wrong? All right, well, that's why it's not an obligation as well. Is you can't be obligated to take risks for other people. So that's why they're not obligations; they're indications. Eric is an ESFJ Enneagram 1 Wing 9. I've heard a number of people take stabs at retyping me. ESFJ, I guess at least, I mean, it's a good way to try to muddy that, I guess, because it's an extrovert. I do display plenty of indications of extroverted feeling. Obviously, my SI is not terrible, and it's a matter of some concern to me. You could say I have an SI tool function that I'm constantly referring back to my previous videos, watching my own shit, getting satisfaction that way. But I mean, it just doesn't really make any sense because I do too much stuff that's I touch too many ENTP bases, I guess. It's like you might imagine an ESFJ being very successfully creative in some fashion where they really embrace their third slot entity. But you wouldn't imagine them being creatively active in ideational stuff that's so TI based. And you might say, well, Eric, the reason you're so TI is because you've had all this time with debate, coaching, blah, blah, blah. Except that ignores the fact that I chose those things because I liked them a lot. And I was naturally very good at them before I ever got any training at all. So, I mean, it's an interesting notion. It's a better line of critique than ISFJ, which I know that Becky tried to float that line of critique. That line of muddying, I would call it. But that one doesn't work very well because, as Stacey pointed out, I'm obviously not an introvert. Let's see. Peter Dennis, I have been tuning into a channel in the mornings to learn how channels work. You might like speculator Seth, the day trader, but be careful. I chat in the AM, and if you stop by, say hi. Positive moral obligation is a trick. You can't punish someone for not upholding it, but it doesn't change the fact that I will think they're scumbags. Exactly. The saber is religious to us. Catherine Liu, I think I am INTJ, and I think I can write creatively. At least that's what I think. I can write strange haikus, poetry, etc. Okay, well, I mean, it's certainly within the INTJ's capacity. If you prefer that medium of language-based art, then you're probably not an INTJ. After Ragnarok, they leave behind two humans that sound similar to Adam and Eve. That is why everyone in this community is upset with young Joseph, who needs a dream coat. He is playing the shame and blame game. All of us recognize that, or we would not be here. Huh. Well, I mean, I didn't intend this to be about him, particularly, but people bring him up a lot, I guess. Sinjin, Eric is a textbook ESFP. Believe it! The process of FI and TI is similar. The way I would differentiate FI and TI is that FI puts itself and other concerned parties into the situation, while TI takes it all of it out and imagines that the parties had no interest. They're interested in the consistency of words of argumentation. Yes, I think that's exactly right. Eric equals ESTP, says Blue Nowhere. If I were going to make the argument that I were an ESTP, I mean, I have a hard time making it. I'm just so obviously an ENTP. It's like Becky and I are both extremely obvious ENTPs, and when I would spend time with her, and I felt sad about her today. I was calling somebody on my phone, I passed her contact, and I thought, oh, because I really never felt quite so much like I was with myself, hanging out with myself, as when I was hanging out with Becky. But in a nutshell, would you agree? That's the only way I do agree in nutshells. Yeah, I agree with your thing about that. Why making a distinction between coercive and non-coercive behavior? I'm saying those behaviors enforced by society should be negative, physically or metaphysically enforced. Well, but then that implies that there are negative metaphysical rights, which there aren't. So it's like you don't have the right to not be taunted, but nevertheless, it's something we ought discourage, right? So that's why you can't use a rights-based framework when dealing with metaphysical things.
What was that? You can't use a rights-based framework when dealing with metaphysical things?
Right. So in other words, if I punch you,
Right.
versus where I taunt you,
Mhm.
both might be equally hurtful
Okay.
in different ways,
Right.
but only one can be treated as a rights violation.
Exactly. Okay.
So the
Right.
metaphysical, you don't have the metaphysical right to not be hurt in the same way
Right.
that you have the physical right to not be hurt. But so it's not. It may be the case that those behaviors enforced by society, in other words, those behaviors prohibited by society, should be negative, whether they're physically or metaphysically prohibited or enforced.
Well, wait a
Okay, I mean, I agree that those things that should be prohibited should be negative, because that's a very minor claim. I mean, we shouldn't prohibit things that aren't harmful in any way or negative in any way, obviously. But the thing is, yes, like bullying should be enforced, but no, it's not a rights violation. Eric is clearly ESFP, volatile feelings all over the place. You don't know me. You've not walked a mile in my shoes. Jay doesn't imagine the other doesn't care. TI straight up isn't concerned at all to even think about it. Well, TI imagines that the only way you can be fair to everybody is to extract the personal elements from the equation and make sure that the same rules apply to everybody, etc. And those rules apply in terms of language, and they apply in terms of practicalities or whatever. An archetype can't be projected onto a function. The collective archetypes get an individual tinge in every individual, or tinged individually. You only see one facet of them in a human. And AT is too big for a single psyche, says Jung. What's AT? He's attractive enough to be ESFP. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I am. I thought typologists like the great young CS or ESTJ. Not me. What's an example of a negative obligation? It's the obligation to not steal someone's stuff, the obligation to not stab them, the obligation to not, destroy their property.
It seems to me the only difference between hurting someone physically and hurting someone metaphysically is just that there happen to be laws saying that you can't hurt someone physically. And it's that law is enforced by someone else who can bring more force to bear, i.e. the government, the police.
But there's a clear, bright line, though, that distinguishes between two kinds of harm.
Well, absolutely.
Namely, physical harms are binarily determinable. That is to say, I can point to a wound and say, you caused this with your behavior.
Right.
Whereas emotional pain is not thus binarily determinable.
Well, I'm just saying, if we're talking about rights, then rights only exist when you have a government with a monopoly on violence enforcing the rights.
Well, sure. I mean, but
Right.
The thing is, monopolies on violence are only justified insofar as they uphold rights.
Right.
So it's not reductive.
Although it could be argued that it's still not justified.
I mean, it could be argued that,
Right.
but that's not my position on universal ethics. My position on universal ethics is self-defense is justified. Because it's responsive to aggression. It's not aggression itself. And the distinction between aggression and non-aggression.
We're not talking about self-defense, are we?
That's the same concept. I mean, the same issue argumentationally. It's like you're saying, well, it could be argued that violence that's responsive to rights violations is still not okay. That we shouldn't arrest thieves. That we shouldn't imprison people who committed murder or something. That you're just adding more harms. But my point is, I don't agree with that. Is that my understanding of a reasonable ethics is one that does allow a use of force in response to aggression. Acts of aggression being thievery, illegitimate border crossings of any sort.
Right. Anything it's basically worth it for people to give up their own agency when it comes to committing violence in order to make that a more efficient process, basically? Or
well, because people can't be trusted to attain justice for when they're the victim of a crime,
right,
for themselves, because the thing about justice is it doesn't just incorporate whether or not it's responsive to a rights violation. It also incorporates proportionality, and it incorporates due process of law. In other words, we have to determine whether the person being accused of a crime is actually guilty of the crime. If we leave it into the hands of the person who's victimized by the criminal, then we assume their judgment about who's guilty about the crime is always right, and of course it's not. So that's why due process is implicit, and an implicit part of any just criminal justice system when it comes to enforcing laws against rights violations. Let's see here. Power Red Bull says it took me 8 years on YouTube to ever subscribe to anything. The MBTI supports evolution in animals, like use cognitive functions, then how would they evolve logic after emotions there on axis? Well, I don't believe in evolution, so I don't know. Evolution wouldn't work at all for lots of reasons. There's lots of reasons why it doesn't make any sense, and it's not a sensible way to explain where species came from. Now, note, I'm not advocating some alternate advocacy. I'm just saying it doesn't withstand any scrutiny. It doesn't meet its burden to affirm. It doesn't explain anything. So I don't believe in evolution. It needs to do its job before I'm going to believe in it. And it's totally failed to do its job. Can we say that sensors live in the here and now and gather information based on what they see in front of them? I feel like I live really in the here and now. I mean, that doesn't mean, well, I live really in the now. I don't necessarily live in the here. You know? Rules without feelings are verboten nowadays, Eric. Well, AT equals archetype. Okay. A lot of gaming, political channels, Razorfist, Sticks, Happy Console Gamer, a bunch of smaller channels. Same here, but after that, I piled up so much that I had to separate everything in several different accounts. I answered to Walter. It doesn't matter for the discussion. My thinking cap is the non-detachable, invisible one. Nathalia corrected her misspelling in my name. Thank you, Nathalia. I'm like Freddie Chandran. It's really important to me my name be spelled and pronounced correctly. Here's the thing, though, Eric. Why not you both put the parties and their interests in the situation and look at the consistency of arguments at the same time? Well, we do that. For example, in the criminal justice system, we do take into account the parties and their interests in the situation in the punishment phase of a criminal trial. So mitigating circumstances do come into play when it's determined how much time somebody should get in jail or whatever. But they don't come into play when determining whether or not somebody's guilty or innocent. And they shouldn't, because that matter should be determined on the facts. So whether or not we are including enough particularist elements in our judicial system is certainly a matter that's open for debate. But it's incorrect to think that a TI user doesn't want to include FI into the mix. We do. We just want it positioned properly. It should be relevant in punishment phase, because that's where issues of proportionality and other considerations of justice come into play. But it should not be relevant in terms of guilt or innocence. I have a feeling anarcho-communists would disagree. Well, I mean, anarcho-communists would benefit from acquisition of brains, I suppose. Now I subscribe to stuff, but often after a few videos, I'm bored with kind of the same stuff, slightly modified. Right, whereas here you get the same stuff, really modified. Verboten is so mer interessant. I imagine they would. Sometimes they even disagree with myself. Certain things to a certain extent. But both, I mean, the FI and TI DOMs can do both. Take parties' interests and perspectives into consideration and look at the consistency of arguments too. I'm sure they can. I think the thing is, FI DOMs will ultimately think, yeah, but if we do this thing, these particular individuals will suffer, and that will dissuade them from doing things, even if because they're not necessarily judging against alternatives, right? FI DOMs have a tendency to avoid doing that. What are the actual alternative choices that are here? And I must choose one, and I must choose some evil and avoid some other evil, let's say. FI DOMs have a hard time with that. They don't recognize that you're not choosing against the status quo. That's just one of the alternative things that you're choosing against. And sometimes the status quo is better than an ill-advised course of action. And FI Doms think if there's suffering going on, we need to do something, and they might advocate in favor of some ill-advised course of action as a consequence. Let's see. Yes, it should be easier to kind of prioritize the content channel CS, but land somewhere behind the last position. If an FI Dom says they hurt and I did it, I could say they hurt because they are so sensitive. That's a bit mean, but in real life, I can often understand why it's my responsibility. Well, that's one of the reasons why I was put in this relationship with Kimberly. Kimberly is often calling me too sensitive. She says I'm oversensitive and is often dismissing me ontologically in that fashion. I come to recognize that behavior is gaslighting. When you tell somebody you are wrong to feel the way you do right now because I don't take seriously the thing that's causing you discomfort, emotional discomfort or pain. It's obviously the slabs put me with Kimberly for very specific reasons. I needed to learn lots of things. One thing I needed to learn was, sometimes people have feelings and boundaries and stuff, and they don't like the way that makes them feel, and they want you to not do that. And you need to respect that. And if you love them or care about them, you should validate those feelings by saying, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. And acknowledge that it doesn't matter whether I think you overreacted, if you were too sensitive or whatever, that you're not telling me I did anything wrong. You're telling me I made you feel bad. And that's a different thing. And so I need to respect that. So, the reason I came to believe this is because Kimberly has a history of not really, and things are changing dramatically now, but she had a history of not really respecting my feelings on things. She'd say a bunch of negative comments. Eventually I'd be like, okay, that one kind of hurt a little bit, and then I'd get accused of being oversensitive. It took me a while to even realize what was happening because I'm so done with my FI, Let's see. It's for me confusing that I'm scolded by my FI Dom friend for being how I am, but wants to be respected for how they are. That's so confusing to me. Things when people express unfairness, like double standards, and don't seem to be swayed when you go, but that's clearly a double standard you're using here. That's very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. I agree with you, Chris. Try pointing out that 80% of AIDS victims are gays to an INFP and see how they take it. How are they supposed to take it? What's the point? What's the point of pointing that out? What message are you trying to make?
Wait, what is this?
Well, Gertal says, just try pointing out that 80% of AIDS patients are gay and to an INFP and see how they take it.
Oh, right.
But the point is, why would you be pointing out that 80% of AIDS patients are gays? Like, what larger point are you trying to make there? What are you using that warrant to establish?
Right, that's what the INFP would be thinking about.
Well, they wouldn't express it like that.
They wouldn't, but
that's a question they should ask.
Right, but they won't ask that. They'll just sit there silently and judge you. So you don't like them, right?
I don't dislike them. I'm scared of them.
Yeah, exactly. They won't play your game.
Well, I just can't tell. They are playing it, but they're playing it with a level of nuanced deliberation that I'm just not capable of competing at.
Interesting.
Politics are too emotionally laden.
I don't understand.
Loaded topic to talk about like sports. I mean, the thing is, politics shouldn't be emotionally loaded at all. I don't get emotional when I talk about politics. I mean, I get mad about certain political things, I guess, but I can disagree with people, agree with people, whatever. I can explain my position, they can explain theirs. I don't get upset at all. I mean, my positions aren't locked in stone either. I'm willing to alter them as new data comes into play. I'd be willing to observe some exceptions to the formula I outlined above in cases of laws which are necessary to protect the integrity of the state. I believe in positive laws, just not rights. Positive rights, that is. Yeah, there aren't any positive rights, and yeah, okay, you and I aren't in any disagreement here on that recommendation, as far as I can tell. We just put it a little bit differently. I value people's feelings, but I don't judge people based on their race, sexuality, rather their thoughts or how they act. The portrayals of FI is a result of one-sided portrayals from other types. Ha ha ha, Stacy. I'm owned by ferrets. Oh, Winston's a ferret. That's right, another dog. I was telling somebody the other day, I think Winston was a dog, but that's fine. What would it take for Spacey to be willing to swap names with me? I like the name so much. Freddie Chandran, I like your name so much. Your name is Freddie Chandran. It's a good name. You should keep that name, Freddie Chandran. He pointed out because it is true and because it is pertinent to the culture's exaltation of experimental lifestyles. Okay, well, what's that pertinent to, though? What's your point about exaltation of experimental lifestyles? Are you trying to say that that's bad? Just because exaltation of experimental lifestyles correlates strongly or produced or consequent in AIDS doesn't make it bad. I would imagine that people get emotional when hearing stories about child abuse, unfair incarcerations, etc. I don't think that's wrong, though, because that's where empathy and caring come from. It goes beyond an intellectual need. Well, I mean, sure, but if they're getting emotional about it, then that makes them less likely to actually come to the correct policy course about the thing. So that's the problem with it. You know, I have a clear understanding of where normatively things ought to be. Like, obviously, child abuse is bad. That doesn't mean in order to affect policy about it, I need to be emotional about it. You know, I have the right answer to abortion too. I'm pro-life, but I don't necessarily advocate in favor of laws that make abortions punishable as though they were murders, for example.
Right.
So
it's hard.
It's a tough issue in terms of the difference between the normative clarity that I have and the policy mud that this issue is swaddled in. There's no disputing the fact that the normative, my normative position on it is absolutely correct and wins on every fucking ground. So that's it. But what ought to be done is another question. If public schools create a culture where one feels obligated to affirm those lifestyles are articulating contradictory facts and necessary retaliatory measure, I think jokes are probably more effective for rumination. Like Spacey said the other night, like I got to go out and smoke some poles. I mean, I don't want people to think I'm a bigot or anything, which we thought was a funny joke. I thought it was funny. Like, that's how ridiculous things get. Like, oh no, I'm not a bigot. I'll go suck some guy's dick to prove I'm not a bigot. It's ridiculous. It's obviously hyperbolic, but I agree that there's an obscene movement towards normalization of position statements as politically correct or like sort of socially acceptable, and other position statements as not socially acceptable. Well, that to me is not morally acceptable. And when people try to do that shit, they obviously need and receive my entire foot up their ass.
You know, I've been told that I'm a star seed or whatever that shit is. That I have like some alien soul. I don't know whoever asked that.
I don't think I have empathy. I might be a psychopath. When someone cries, I want to run away because they don't know what to say to comfort them. I can only give them advice on how to solve problems. What's the matter with me? Well, first of all, if you want to run away because you don't know what to say to comfort them, then you're obviously not completely lacking in empathy. Your inability to comfort them wouldn't concern you at all if you were a psychopath. You wouldn't be concerned with their comfort at all. And advice to solve problems is probably links to you being maybe a TE dom, you might be an ESTJ, you might be an ENTJ, you might have TE as a tool function, You might be an INTJ. You might be what else has T as a tool function? ISTJ. Yeah. Being emotional is difficult issues to me. It's going too fast. Only causes much energy spend without getting one step forward, and it's not so that I'm very sorry for people. It isn't only paralyzing me. I feel you, Chris. Listen, when shit gets too emotional around here, I am absolutely paralyzed. Uh, today, Kimberly said something discouraging, and I said, "That's it. I'm feeling discouraged now. I don't want to do anything anymore." And this is a new strategy of mine. It's basically like, just instead of doing my natural thing, which is, Eric, your feelings don't matter. You need to stop being moist. It's to go, the only thing that matters are my feelings, and now they're hurt, and now I'm not going to do anything. Just be fucking petulant, See how she likes that? It's like, she wants me to do shit all the time. She's always telling me, like, take the trash out, clean the porch, whatever. But if she's not nice, I'm just going to be like, now my feelings are hurt. Now, you remember how sensitive I am, how oversensitive I am. The stories you tell come true. Let's see. Tracy,
What?
That is I'm not sure, we're trying to figure out what she's referring to.
Oh,
that
aliens.
is a fun conversation for a good talk around a campfire live stream.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Okay, you know what she's referring to. I don't know what she's referring to. AIDS used to be called GRIDS, gay-related immune deficiency syndrome. I think INFPs enjoy to be competitive for fun and improvement, but not to be destructive or win over. It's true. INFP's TI can be fantastic, but it's really only at maximal utility when they're playing a game that requires them to use it. Dr. Phil says you are a psychopath. Sorry, Dr. Phil knows better than me. Obviously, he's a doctor. I must be diplomatic because of YouTube's rules. I'm good at being socially diplomatic, but not good at being intellectually diplomatic. Well, I don't think my point I was making was intellectually diplomatic. My point is that I don't think it's a good idea for us to condemn gays. I don't think there's an effort by gay people to recruit straight people into their culture or any bullshit like that. I do think it's a good thing to normalize homosexuality, because people who are homosexuals ought to be afforded equal dignity and legitimacy as people who are heterosexuals. Plus, the more gay dudes there are out there, the easier it is for straight dudes to get chicks. And there are no real lesbians. Everybody knows that. All women scissor, but they all want dick at the end of the day. Everybody knows that. Because who wouldn't like boobs? Everybody's gonna like boobs. Chicks, dudes, everybody's gonna like boobs.
Boobs are great.
Boobs are fantastic.
We need some boobs in this live stream.
Wishful thinking, Eric? What is wishful thinking? Okay. Keller ferret. Mrs. Mom had a deaf ferret called Keller. Oh, they're all a little bit lesbian and a little bit rock and roll.
Can you scroll up? I want to see what Natalia Archer said. People use the psychopath label a little too often, methinks. Same with narcissist. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right, Natalia.
Here's a personality disorder. There's a personality disorder. Everywhere there's a personality disorder.
Right.
Narcissists are lurking around every corner. They're like cockroaches. You better watch out.
Incels should celebrate homosexuality together. That's a good point. It's easy to be a solution for them. Yeah, don't believe in all those disorders. The only disorder that I have for sure is oppositional defiant disorder. It's one of the worst ones. It's where you don't do anything wrong, but you disagree with the doctor. And you get ODD.
Well, don't you actually have to be kind of violent and shit to get labeled with that? No?
In fact, you have to not be any of those things.
Oh.
If you do anything that's rights violating at all, then it becomes
I forget the difference, but I know there's another
one that's
yeah.
like a level up.
Right.
If you don't do anything wrong, but you disagree too much with people,
right.
You have oppositional defiant disorder.
Oh my goodness. That sounds like exactly the kind of disorder some kind of dystopian nightmare fascist government would come up with.
Yeah. What are the turn-based functions? They're all the metaphysical ones. EI, FE, NE, and NI.
Probably give them a double dose of Seroquel so they'll calm down.
Yeah. Okay, first you need this Valium, and then you need this Seroquel. Now you're compliant. Half of the priesthood are closet gays. I'm sure the priesthood is just like a big gay party, I would guess. You know? No, metaphysical is turn-based. Physical is real-time. Metaphysical functions are TIFE, NE, NI. Physical functions are FITE, SISE. The Spartans appreciated sex and a good body. Everyone had such a good time without making babies, they outlawed homosexuality. I think there is an attempt by gays to recruit incels. The gays are not an organization. Okay? It's not like there's a big building in downtown LA called the Gays, and all the gays go there and they decide together on what their gay policy is for coming in. You know, it's like people just want whatever kind of genitals they want. They're certainly not influenced by anybody else either. There's nobody who's like a straight dude who's going like, I guess I better take some dick tonight. I've learned so much about respecting homosexuals that I've decided I want to take some dick tonight, even though I'm straight. It just doesn't ever happen, you know? It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous notion. If they end up taking dick, then they want to take it, you know? Not because they've been convinced by school to become homos. It's so silly. Like, who could convince you to become a homo or straight if you are a homo? People have spent so much time and energy trying to force all these homos into becoming straight people, right?
None of it's about being convinced, that's for sure.
It's like they pray the gay away and go to the Schick-Shadel Hospital for homosexuality, where they make you smoke so much pole you don't want to smoke any pole anymore. And the point is, it's silly. Yes, it is true. Plenty of individuals who feel the need for more than their self provides or something want to identify as a group label and reduce themselves to that group label. It's also the case that lots of other people want to reduce third parties to this certain group label.
Totally. You have to dehumanize your opponents. Like,
yeah, but that's the problem with it. When we're talking about the gays, right? You are not talking about individual human beings who, like, let's say there's Bob. Oh, yeah, my bad. Here. I'm bogarting, aren't I?
You're bogarting.
I'm bogarting the fuck out of this. One time, I saw this one hot chick at this bar, and I'm like, hey, baby, I'm going to take you home. I'm going to bogart the fuck out of you.
Hell yeah.
And then I took her home. I lit her on fire, and I smoked her all myself. Technically, tentatively, I'm sorry, tentatively, says Freddie Chandran. I claim Enneagram 9. Well, Freddie Chandran, I'm so glad to know that you claimed that as your own. Does that mean nobody else gets to be Enneagram 9 now? You got dibs on it. I'll tell Spacey he's got to relinquish Enneagram 9. It's Freddie Chandran's taking it over. Cameras, you're probably ENTJ if you believe you're a psychopath or INFJ. INTJ is the only step that bounce flat and left foot could be wrong. Well, you might be an INTJ. Would you say that everyone's doing everything wrong, and although you reveal little about your emotions, your rage about this runs very deep? I don't understand MBTI. It's not scientifically verified. It's one person says this and another person says that. Yeah. MBTI is crap. Now, understanding the attentional habits of people, that's another matter entirely. That makes perfectly good sense. But if you want to talk about how much poo there is in the bag, then, we can talk about that. But remember, I only am willing to discuss things that are measured in units of gigaparsecs. Okay? So if you're not big league like that, don't even come talking to me about anything. Gigaparsecs are bust. At Blue Nowhere. You have some space between your ears. Space this one is useful to see light in this jungle of voices. How about the weather? Huh? It's safe and everyone kind of sort of agrees. Aha. Natalia Archer. I like that comment. That's strange. I like it. Oh, this is for you. No, you pulled yours, right? Or did
Yeah,
you?
I just pulled one.
You just pulled one. Okay, so this is right. I gotta find the worksheet portraits right here. Eric, I dreamed that you and Kim adopted me. I was so happy. Sorry, Jake. We already adopted our adoptive son. Spacey here. It's a pretty good gig, really. Pretty good gig. Is there any API test you've seen online that you think is decent and then cognitive understanding with question and answer options? I don't really think you can do it with like that kind of approach, really. Have I refined my FE polar test? No, I don't really have an FE polar test. You can kind of just tell when somebody's super FE polar. Stacey, can you take over for a minute? I gotta poop.
Sure. Damn. If I had to poop, I'd be gone for like a half an hour. I don't know about you guys. Spacey, quick, be interesting. I don't know. There seems to be a heated political discussion here. Well, if you're debating formally, then you need to like research the topic. You actually have to come up with your points and your counterpoints. But like when you're used to debating, you know exactly what kind of information that you're looking for. Because there's an exact structure to the format of a debate. So you can kind of streamline your education to more the kind of information that you need specifically for that debate. But I'd say you do end up learning a lot about the kinds of things that debate is about, like politics, for example. That's a very common thing to debate about. And so, no, I don't have any experience in formal debate myself. I grew up in the white ghetto in upstate New York. We didn't have a debate team. Oh. Well, in that case, you're just using basic reasoning, if you don't know anything. I just ask people. I mean, if I'm in a debate when I'm not familiar with it, I wouldn't be in a debate if I wasn't familiar with the topic, really. I might ask somebody a lot of questions if they're acting like they're familiar with it, and I might find a hole in what they're saying, right? I'll be like, well, I'm just asking you shit right now, but what you just said isn't consistent with like something else that you said. It would be like that. I think homosexuality is biological sometimes. A lot of the time, it does seem to be the result of sexual abuse in early life. So I think there's multiple ways that it can come about. But yeah, I did just read an article that AI is able to like determine who is homosexual and who's not with like 90-something% efficiency, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Just by facial recognition. Man, hanging to your dude, you gotta like don't say this shit in a public place. Just go to the fucking gym, eat your oats and do your squats. And just generally stop giving a fuck. That's my advice to you, my friend. No, first slot and 8 slot TI both like to debate. It's just that you're going to end up coming to a disagreement because one person is going to prioritize TI over FI and the other person is going to prioritize FI over TI because you can't do both of them at the same time. So I'd say 8 slot TI is more likely to try to appear like they're really good with TI and so try to maybe argue something that they maybe shouldn't. And first slot TI would be much more likely to hang back. Right. Grad Owl's actually right about that. Although they're often not very retarded about it at all. You have to get pretty granular with a lot of the smarter INFPs and stuff before you see any kind of inconsistency in between their TI arguing and their FI valuing, basically. Right. Yeah, Shruti, I think you're right about that. Or no, Shruti. That's what it was. Shruti. SI in 8 slot is what allows an NI Dom to draw on some measure of, personal experience in order to help them maximize the predictive capability of NI. I guess I would say is what its function is in general. Changing our diets. Oh, estrogen in the diet, you think? Red Bull? Whatever that shit is that's making the frogs gay? Countess, I don't know if it really makes a distinction in the 8 slot of like that. I mean, it's gonna remember whatever bits are supporting their NI, really. It depends on the kind of prediction you're making. I'm assuming an unhealthy NI Dom is going to, tell negative stories, basically. And everything else will fall into line with that, with whatever narrative there is. What SLI? Zaylen, what do you mean? Where does that FE and MBTI come into this? Or do you just mean the difference between the MBTI version, like ISTJ, and then the Socionics equivalent? The SI subtype. Oh. Yeah, Countess, I think that's a reason NI DOMs, they're much more likely to start to make bad predictions sort of as a result of having bad experiences than like an NI tool user would. Like an ENFJ would just be able to forget everything. Yeah. SI subtype of SLI. I don't really know much about socionics. I'm not gonna lie, so I don't really feel comfortable talking. Plus, I don't really know you, but so my impression of the SI subtype of SLI is that it's more of an introvertedly focused version of the SLI. So it basically both your SI and your FI are going to look more developed, I guess, in that subtype. And if your FI is more developed, then your FE may also consequently be more developed in a certain way. So plus on top of that, you're a woman, meaning for both biological and social reasons, it's going to be pounded into you that you kind of need to have good FE. So I really don't think it's impossible for an ISTJ, especially a female one, to have decent social graces. I don't know if it's better FE, Shruti, but like INTJs seem a little more relaxed, a little looser, a little less stiff, and they don't a little cooler and smoother, I guess, to hang out with. So I guess I don't know. They don't seem as awkward as ISTJs do a lot of the time. But it depends on how old they are, I guess. They're all kind of awkward when they're young. Well, Cade's FE is fine when he's not shit-faced.
I'm done live streaming.
Alrighty.
Go probably take a bath, I think, maybe, and then I think our porch.
Alrighty.
So whenever you feel like you're done.
Well, I'll shut this down then.
Yeah, sure.
All right. I don't know. Any guys have anything else you want to ask? Yeah, guys. All right. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. Let's end this. Good night.